Both cinema and video games are mediums which very often influence one another in a multitude of ways, but it's fair to say that with gaming's relative infancy, it's had a lot more to draw inspiration from. This is especially true of Trek To Yomi, a cinematic side-scrolling action game that heavily evokes the films of Akira Kurosawa and other classic Japanese cinema through every facet of its presentation. There's no question about whether it's effective at recreating and remixing its filmic influences. But how does it all combine into a singular gaming experience? I'm Tarran, and this is the GGRecon review of Trek To Yomi. Trek To Yomi takes place in the Edo period of feudal Japan, following a young samurai named Hiroki on his personal journey through life and death. The prologue opens during a tutorial lesson with his sensei Sanjuro, teaching you the basics of light and heavy attacks, blocking, parrying, and movement. Before long, bandits begin to wreak havoc on the outskirts of their village. Sanjuro goes to help, but in the process of defending the village, he's mortally wounded, forcing Hiroki to take a vow that he'd protect the village and its inhabitants. Fast forward some years, and Hiroki has become the dedicated defender of the village. The bandit problem hasn't subsided though, and a plan to deal with them at another nearby village goes awry, leading Hiroki down a warpath to protect all that's dear to him. The narrative is mostly linear, but you're able to personalise the character arc of Hiroki and change some aspects of the ending based on your personal choices. These come during 3 specific sections where you can choose responses in cutscenes, letting you continue on for love, duty, or revenge. These don't massively change the game, but they adjust Hiroki's journey based on your reaction and interpretation of the events, while giving the narrative more personal stakes. It's a fairly simple retelling of the hero's journey, but the setting of Edo-era Japan paired with the Shinto mythology makes for a compelling backdrop to Hiroki's story. The gameplay is presented from a mixture of 2D and 3D perspectives, with the combat always taking on the former, forcing you along a linear track. Between this, there are moments where you're given more agency and allowed to move freely in any direction, letting you seek out alternate paths and side areas that contain upgrades, collectibles, and new moves. Sometimes it's not entirely clear where to go, with the occasional invisible wall popping up and forcing you another way. But the extra freedom given to the player to speak to NPCs and soak in the atmosphere adds a lot to the mood. The enemy types are well designed too, keeping distinct visuals that allow you to identify them and often require different moves or combos to best deal with them. For example, enemies with flowing headbands often perform the thrust attack, and they are easily able to dodge your attempts at hitting them with one. This prohibits you from spamming the same moveset and rewards you with learning the patterns and weaknesses of the enemy variant. It's impossible not to mention Trek To Yomi's incredible devotion to recreating the look and feel of classic Japanese cinema of the 50s and 60s. This is apparent in every single scene across the game, with its monochromatic, picturesque visuals and cinematic camera angles that allow the developers to curate certain story beats and important moments. The black and white visuals, forced letterboxing aspect ratio, film grain and bloom filter add so much to the authenticity, making Trek To Yomi one of the most uniquely beautiful and visually captivating games in recent memory. Trek To Yomi isn't a long game. You're looking at around 4.5 hours, but it felt like the perfect length for the experience. There's also a lack of replayability value though, because you can't replay certain missions or access your old save once the game is over, forcing you to play again if you want the achievements or just want to experience a certain section. There is an unlockable difficulty mode called Kensai, which makes you and all enemies, barring bosses, one hit, providing a great challenge for those wanting to master the combat. Trek To Yomi presents its world through the lens of classic Japanese cinema, reinforcing its exploration of self-reflection and overcoming failure with masterful presentation designed to form a captivating experience. Combat presents a satisfying learning curve that rewards carefully studying your opponents and mastering the moves in your arsenal. And while it can falter at times due to the uneven pacing, it's well worth undertaking the trek yourself. We're giving Trek To Yomi an 8 out of 10. If you enjoyed that, make sure to subscribe, like the video, and stick around for more great content here on GGRecon.